All right. Big Redwood fifth wheel. This is a real pretty coach. So we've already got the slides out. This slide's got problems. It's got some gasket issues. This one has a bad roof. I'm going to go up there and show you. And we just got up there and opened this up. So what we're going to end up doing is wrapping the whole coach to go around it. And we'll be putting on some, basically it's a wrap that we put around the other side so we don't get trash all over the coach. It's actually going to look like that. That's all it is. So we'll just be putting that on, but we have to inspect all these slides first. I want to see what we need to do, if we need to do. And right now all the gasket so far right there, that looks like it's wore out. And then like I said, I'll go up and show you the roof, or that slide roof anyways, and some other stuff on here. All right, so if you look at the ceiling, you can see there's no filters, there's no filter boxes or anything like that. Obviously you can see the AC ducts right here. All right, so they do have the air conditioners. They're bolted onto the roof from the roof side, meaning I'll show you that as well. So I just wanted to show you that, and obviously you got a ceiling fan. I've had other people ask me, hey, can I put a ceiling fan in? Well, if you don't have any stock in the roof, then you cannot put one in. You just can't willy-nilly go, hey, I want to put one here, I want to put one there. You can't do that. They build stock in there so they'll have some strength. So you got one air conditioner down there, the other one's over here somewhere. I know it's all dark, but anyhow, it's up more towards the door here, and I'll show you what they're like. All right, so here's our ACs like I was showing you. That one's up there. And these are all mounted to the roof, meaning you take the cover off and you literally screw it down, and that's how they seal them up. They just put some self-leveling on there. So let's see if I can get over here to this slide out. This is obviously the passenger slide. So we've got some issues with tape. Turn the camera around a little bit. You can see the tape is kind of curled up in some areas here. Maybe that's a little better. It's actually broke. There's nothing there. But I gotta turn the camera around so you don't get dizzy. This is the rip we got. And it goes over to here. So something caught that. Something caught it in here, I'm guessing. So we're going to check all that too. And it could have been this, not this piece. And it could have been a tree branch or something. But it's wet under there. So you can't just fix that. You can see all the dirt and everything in there. You don't want to just put a piece of roof tape on there. That's not a long-term fix. Again, some other boogage right there. So we got those issues. And then we got, this is just a header. And I'm going to try holding the camera steady so you can see. I don't know if you can watch the gasket down here. So, don't normally like that. We may kind of investigate it a little bit, but I'm not going to poke a bear that doesn't need to be poked. So obviously we're taking the shoulders off, trying to just see what we got going on. And then once we get all that done, then we'll obviously tear the rest of the roof up. It does have plywood on here, but that's only 3/8. We're going to end up putting 1/2 inch on here. So and there's all the, that's what I was talking about. So all they did was just put a bolt through that and screw it to the roof. And then I'm going to go around the other side. And I'll show you some of the stuff I don't really like. It'll probably be a little easier to get the camera in there. So one of the things our curb's going to do, yeah, you can see where they bolted it right here too, all that slobberage. So one of the things that the curbs are going to do, if you look up underneath here, let's see if I even got maybe a flashlight or something. That may help. You can see all that trash in there. That dries out the gasket. So when that gasket fails, you'll have a rotted roof deck and you'll have to take up roofing. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I know that there are other systems out there that people think are lifetime, and some of them are sprayed on and some are rolled on. It does not solve this problem. That's what a curb's going to do. It's going to elevate it up, and once it gets elevated up, now you won't have this issue of the gasket getting compromised. It basically isolates it, so all the water will go around. If you watch other videos, then you know what I mean. If this is your first video, then you'll see when we're done. Let me fix the camera again. I'll show you some more over here the same way. So all that debris and all that pollen and all that dirt, what it does is, like you said, it dries out that gasket. So, and there's the bolt right there that they have, and then there's the other ones over on this side over here. So obviously we'll remove them. Going to clean the unit out too, make sure it's all clean. But all they do is screw them right into the roof deck. So here's the other concern. If you have to have this AC serviced for whatever, it's got to come off to be serviced. The more you keep taking those bolts out, then you just waller out the roof deck. You don't just throw lag bolts in here. That's not smart. It just is going to, again, it's going to waller it out. It's not going to stay tight. And then you have a loose air conditioner now, but you also have, with a loose air conditioner, you've got, it's not sealed properly. So now you have more potential for leaks. So all this, this other slide, we got some issues with as well. This whole piece is just all corroded. You see this gasket's all broke, so we got to get a new gasket for that. I'm guessing I got to relay all this to the customer, but that's my plan. And you know, we're going to check all this. This doesn't look as bad as the other side, so we'll see. But I also look for like little things like this when you're doing an inspection. You want to make sure there's no water get down even into here, this little bit of transition right here. So we always check all this stuff. These are some of the things that we do compared to other shops, because it doesn't make sense to put a good roof on and then you got a bad slide. That doesn't make sense. Now it's got to go yet to another shop for that. Those other systems that I was saying, the spray and the roll-on, they don't do slides with that product. So, and one of the reasons is because, from what I understand, it holds up their bay. Because they got to open it up and they got to protect everything and so forth, I guess, so they can apply it. And then how they're going to apply it when they have a gasket, they'd have to take all the gaskets off. They don't do them. They say they don't do them. So, you know, that doesn't make sense. If it's such a good product, you should be able to put it on, but it's just not going to function, I guess, that well on a slide. So, and also, again, the labor. I mean, I want to get these out as quick as I can. Absolutely, if I can. And when I say that, that doesn't mean I'm rushing to get them out. I just want the project to come along smoothly, and I want it to come along where everything is going well, it's done, we can move along. Not, let's slap it together to get it out so I can get another one in here. We don't do that at this shop. So whatever it takes to get this done properly, and when we tear this roof off, we're going to look underneath, we're going to check the insulation, we're going to check the trunk lines, we're going to check the electrical, we're going to check the trusses, we're going to inspect all underneath there. And we do that on purpose, because how else are you going to fix something when you put the roof on? So what if we find trunk lines detached? And that's kind of common. So what if we find that? Maybe the tape is just not as well as it could be or should be. It's got to be retaped. If you don't, and it gets bigger, and now you got cold air blowing up underneath a hot roof, well, that's called rain. But how do you fix it? You got to take sealing out. First, you got to find it, and then you got to, or take a roof up. One way or another, you got to try to fix that, right? What if there's some pinched wires under there? I find them a lot too. So I want to make sure they're not stressed out. I want to make sure that they're not going to get pinched as the coach is kind of moving down the road. We're going to check the trusses. So all these things to me are important. And besides that, I'm going to glue the roof deck down. That is very, very important, because that adds that shear strength to it. If you don't glue it down, then it wants to rack too much, and all that energy is going to go to the screws and the fasteners, and that's what causes other stuff to loosen up. That's what causes other things to leak. So let me get some more stuff done, and I'll show you. So over on this skylight, that's what I was looking at back there. I'm looking at the caulking, and this is supposed to be an exterior grade caulking. It's supposed to last, you know, and these are some of the things you're going to run into, and they're going to want you to just put more on. But this isn't the right way to seal a roof. It just isn't. You can see all the cracks up there. You don't seal the roof that way. So same thing here. Now this cap popped, and that can leak right in there. The way we do ours, it's not going to happen that way. So let's get some of these scaffolds together and everything, and we'll get the roof open. And we'll show you some ways to go along. They had another turn bar right here. What do you do with it? Just toss it? Yeah, they had one here. Probably that's where the roof had come apart, I'm guessing. So there's some rod over on that other side. I'll show you that. Alrighty, so we have got all our paper on, which I like that. And then now we're going to start taking the roof off. One of the things I'm noticing though, there's a truss right here. There's a truss, pretty sure it's right there. And there's the other one. And I don't see any screws right in here. I don't see nothing up there. I'm hoping there's something in there. But we got these little screws right here. So we got that. All around here, I'm surprised there isn't more damage. I'm surprised there isn't more damage. I really am. This is a common spot. So we may have caught this one just in time, but there was a little right here. That's where that bolt was that was holding down the air conditioner. Because all I did was just booger it up. See? So that one, and it doesn't look rotted. I'm saying that one does though. That one over there. So you can't see on the other side. I'll try and get over there. Doesn't look too bad just from looking here, what I can see. So, but normally you know you have some issues under there. So, and the same thing with these skylights. A lot of times you have some issues with this whole thing being rotted out. All this, you know. So, see, we get them aluminum trusses in there. Hopefully I'm not going too fast with the camera. I do have some rot over on the other side. I'm going to walk around. This is a narrow walkway around the front. We just put the walk boards on there just so we would have the scaffolding stable. That's really all we did it for. But I got a little discoloration right here on this skylight. Right there. I mean, that's not the end of the world for sure. I mean, it's all like, oh my God, look at that. But that's indicative that water was getting in there. How long would it be before you get damage in it, you know? And it looked like it was well sealed. We've got all this discoloration where all the staples were. That's just kind of weird, isn't it? If you got it right there, then over here you don't really have it. So, and the roofing come over. So, but this is where that rot is right here. So obviously, I mean, we're going to redeck it anyways, but that's the damage we got right now. We've got this insulation on here. I like seeing that because that tells me there's a lot of insulation in this. So that's a plus. But we'll find out more when we start taking this whole thing apart. All right, well, let us get to getting some stuff apart, and I'll show you something else that I found. That spot was leaking enough for it to travel down through here. That's still wet. It's actually wet. You can actually see the sheen on it, especially right in here. This one right here. So I'm assuming all this is dry. I'm still looking for. I got a screw here. Got one there. This is supposed to be a, a good, high-end coach, I guess. But right now I'm like about what, 17 inches or so. 17 inches to that screw. Then the next one I see up here is another 16. You need to put a lot more screws in them, and also those screws, they're sunk into the sheathing. It doesn't have all that much strength once the screw goes down into the sheathing, and there's only 3/8. It's not half inch. We're going to be putting on half inch, but that isn't half inch. So let me get some of this cleared off, and I'll show you what we got. So we did take off. There was an antenna right here in that hole, and then we found this wire all coiled up in it. So we like to mark these things so nobody starts thinking it's got to go to something and we chasing a rabbit hole. So, other than that, again, we're still trying to get everything cleared out. All right, so we've got something coming up. We've got a radiant barrier underneath there. Those don't work when you put them on here like this. They're supposed to have a 3/4 of an inch gap either above it or below it. And when you do it this way, it really is ineffective. But there's plenty of that information on YouTube. You can go to Solar Shield, Solar Board, LT Tech, you know, some of these companies that actually make it will tell you how it goes in. But, so what I'm looking for is, see the ducts? That's what I'm looking for. And this is why I do what I do. Looks good right here. Looks good right there, because that's one piece. So all of this is just one piece all the way down here. See? It's all one piece. So, but when we come over to here, this one, well, hey, that looks pretty good. It's just got one lick of tape on it. Yeah, a little hole. There's another one over on that other side. Look at that tape on this side right there. On the flat, it's got a hole in it right there. There you go. Whoop, right there. Yeah.
I don't see a hole. I see a.
Well, it's not sealed right.
Right, it's lifted up.
Yeah. So those are the things we look for. That's what we want to get right. You don't want to have cold air coming up here even a little bit. It's not good. And they just ran one lick of tape. You can see how this one isn't even seated. It's cheap tape too. Everything about it is cheap. That's foam. It's all cheap. So if you're going to do a roof, let's do it right. Let's be done with it. Then I'm going to be checking the wires like I told you. I want to know where these go. I want to find those. I want to see how they travel and see where they go into. See how they kind of twist stuff around like that, you know? So these are just cheap studs on here. So, you know, I don't like them all looped up if there's no room. So this is what I check. I'll make sure there's some room for them. If there isn't, they're going to get pinched and then they're going to compromise. That just gets set back in onto the shell. You had to get those screws out. So that's what we're looking for. So we're going to keep it going, and then what we'll do is we'll put the, obviously, insulation go back in. Then we're going to cut that, and I'm going to set it down in the bay, and then I'll be able to glue right to the truss. Another one here. Look at that one, broken open. So, and if I didn't say this already, I don't think I said it, to skip the ads. We don't monetize. That's a YouTube thing, so feel free to skip them. We don't put this content up there. We're not YouTube contenters. We put these together so the customer can see all the work that we're doing for them. So, and I've been looking at these wires here. Those are your 120 lines, those yellow ones and the white ones. So the white is a 15 amp, the yellow is a 20 amp. And I'm just looking around to see where they go. And some of them go right in this hole right here. And there's nothing to interfere with. Sometimes they'll go into what's called a ferrule, like a sharp piece of pipe, and I'll put a protector in there. But in this case, there isn't any, so we don't need to worry about it here. And I'll go over and check the other side, though. But that's a pretty good sized crack. You know that's just going to get worse over time. So, same thing. Got a little bit of gapping on the side. It's just not tight. This one, that one looks worse though. There's this one. Look at that gap. So it's gonna probably shoot down here another 6 feet or so. Got one more screw in it, he's saying. Right there, somewhere. Also, these are, I left my little magnet over there. These are, they feel like they're like 20 gauge. That's 20 gauge steel, it's not aluminum. The trusses, 20 gauge aluminum. It's right here. Gotta be something there. Sure. Oh, we'll get it, we'll figure it. Well, we got the decking going on. We get all those air conditioning ducts all squared away. Get all that figured out. You can see all the glue we use. still coming up through the joints here. That's why I like to see it. Now we just plenty of screws in here. They didn't have a lot of screws. We want to get more screws in it. We also put the radiant barrier back in. So we got all that. Doesn't make a difference, like I told you. It's got to be sitting up here against the plywood. It needs to have a gap like about 3/4 of an inch. That's the proper way, but I just put it back in there and maybe make someone feel comfortable that it's more UV resistant. The commercial membrane we put on is actually, because it's so thick and it's got a lot more TPO, it reflects a lot more UV light than your typical RV roof. So I've never had anybody complain that it's you know, warmer, or, and a lot of people tell me they can feel that it is a little bit cooler. Is it 30 degrees cooler? Probably not, but you know, it is a little cooler. All right, so we only got a couple more sheets to put on here, and then we're good to go. We can get some roofing on. All right, so what we're gonna do now, just clean out all this debris out of the evaporator here. So what happens is on your air conditioner, you got to take the cover off. So once you get the big cover off, then you're left with this. And then you take out all these screws. And if you're not sure where they go, you can either put tape on them or put a magic marker, ring it, you know, with a black magic marker, because you're going to have to take these off too. And all that'll come off if you have this style. So that'll pop off. And then once it all pops off, now you got your evaporator right here. So all we're going to do now is just flush this out. Just going to flush it. Doesn't look too bad, but underneath, might tip this up a little bit. These right here, those are your drains. There's one there, and there's one on this side. That's what actually drains it off the roof. So I want to make sure they're clear. I want to make sure they're big enough to drain everything out. But that's what we're going to be doing. So we'll take a little brush and just try to get in there and just keep flushing everything out. That's as easy as it is. So I just have a hose. You can put a cleaner on it if you want. This is all you're doing. You're just trying to push it all through. And then right here, this one, that's where your freeze sensor goes in. So you want to be mindful of that. You'll see it when you bring it up. It goes down to the control panel, and you want to put that in there. So that's what recognizes how cold it's getting and whether it'll shut off or not. So I want to get all this debris. I don't know what it is. It's like a little sawdust or something. It's kind of weird. But we're going to get it all cleaned out. And then we just put it back. It's that simple. So that's how you clean them. So whatever was in there, you can see the hole now. Right there. You can see the hole. So some of this, whatever it is, got down inside there, and you can see it now. It's dripping. That's what it's going to do when it's running, and it's just going to run on the roof. The same with this other one that's coming over here. It's a little harder to see because I got this panel on here, but I'd have to take that panel off. But you get the idea. So just keep flushing it out. You don't want all that debris in there. So what'll happen is this will start trying to cool down. Now it's blocked and it builds up. So on the other side, the fan is going to pull the cold air back down right here. It's going to pull it back down into your coach. So it comes up, goes through the condenser, the evaporator, and then it shoots back down. That's a cycle. So if you have too much water building up on here, then it's going to pull it out of the tray and it's going to suck it back in, and you're going to get water coming in. So that's why you want to make sure those ports are clean. And then the other thing that I always find with these is there really isn't a lot of drainage in here. So even when you put the cover on, if you get some heavy rain, it could get in here and it's got nowhere to drain. So we may end up putting a couple extra drain holes in this so it drains a little better. Maybe open these up a little bit so they drain a little better, so it doesn't want to accumulate in here. We want it to drain out. So, and even in the front, maybe one here in case you get some extra water that spills over. Let's get it to drain out instead of just relying on that little port right there. You know, just those couple little holes will make a difference on how much water may spill back into the coach, you know, by the fan, that is. So that's as easy as it is, though. You just flush it out. And you can use a wire brush. Just comb it nice and easy with a wire brush. If you see these fins, you really want them kind of even. You don't want them all mashed up. You really like to try to get them even. It helps. These are basically going to help cool things to have it operate properly. If you close them all up, then it doesn't function well. So, like you said, that's as easy as it is. I know a lot of people, they ask questions about it, but it's honestly, it's that simple. All right, so passenger side already done. Obviously, got the driver's side. We've got all our strips. We glue these down. These shoulders, they're all glued down, and then obviously they're fastened down. And then we just threw some tape on there, just to kind of cover up some of the staple marks. But you're never going to see it through this type of membrane anyways. That's something they want to do. The slide outs, we're not going to do them. We talked to the owner. He needs to get his coach back. I guess he's got something to do, so he wants the coach back. So we're just doing the roof, the main roof. But otherwise, we're going to roll it over, and then we're going to end up getting the curbs cut out and so on. So we're putting in the insert trim now. We got most of the roof on, but we're putting the insert trim on. When we put the gutters on, we don't use butyl. This is an adhesive caulk that we use, so it bonds and also seals. So every one of these screws, when you push that in there and screw it in, the caulking's going to burp out, and it makes these little rings around the caulking. That's what seals every screw. Then the insert trim that we use, we don't sell anything, by the way. I don't know if you can see there's a little groove in there, going on both sides, and it fits down into that track right there. There's one there, and there's another track right up on here. So it sits right in there, so it's in the track and outside the track. That's why we use this. So I think AP Products has a similar one, but we literally have to buy just close to 2 miles of this stuff at a time. But like I said, we don't sell anything here at all. We're just a service center. But that's what we're putting in right now. Then I'll give you the overview on the roof here. Well, we're done with our big Redwood. So we put this marker on here. That's for us to kind of monitor the roof. We want to make sure, you know, when it comes back for inspections, we just like to see how old it is. Also, if you ever went to sell this, you know, we do transferable warranties here. So you can say, hey, that roof was just put on September 24, right? So I also want to thank the customer for coming all the way down. Can't remember where this fellow was from, but we appreciate it, the travel that he took to come here. Also, I guess he works out of this. So all that said, we did show you some issues with the slides, but he doesn't have time for us to do it right now. So he says, hey, he'll come back for it. So some of the things that we've already changed, I don't know if you already noticed this, but we changed the mounting system on the mounting system on these air conditioners. So we get a steel bracket going up underneath to carry it, and then these bolts, they go right down into the roof deck, and then they're all sealed. So anybody who needs to replace this AC, all they have to do is just pop that off. Just unscrew that with a 9/16, pull it out, do their work, do their service, and so forth. And then after that, it's put it back on. Easy peasy. So the bolts they had through there were, let's see where they are. Thought I had them up here. But all they did is they went through the roof deck. They did go through the aluminum. So there is an aluminum frame in there. But that's not heavy duty aluminum, and it will tend to waller out. Now the AC comes loose. The AC comes loose, that gasket up underneath there, that's going to fail because it's not sitting tight, and then the next thing you know, you got a leak. So that's why we elevate everything up off the roof line. The gasket that's up underneath there is just a foam gasket. And when I showed you earlier how all that pollen, all that dirt, it gets in there, dries those gaskets out, and that's a problem. You don't want to have a dried out gasket because when it leaks, and it will leak. It's just a matter of time, but most of the time you don't catch it. They're chronic. They're very small leaks. It'll be something that'll just happen over time, and then when you know, you'll know. I mean, the damage is already done. So you get these little trickles of water that get in there, and then the roof deck soaks it up. And then it may be the framing. In this case, it's aluminum framing, but it will go into the insulation. It'll go down to the ceiling panel. By the time you actually recognize it, you've already got some damage going on. So that's the big advantage, and that's the way you're supposed to do a commercial roof. So if you go online and you do a search for commercial roof images, anywhere in the world, any country, all of humanity who has a flat roof has curbs. That's just the way it's done. So the industry, they just don't do it because it's too much work for them, and then they play it off and say, it's an RV, it's not a commercial roof, and that's their narrative. But it's wrong. Any flat roof, and someone's going to argue with me and say, well, this roof isn't exactly flat. This is considered a flat roof. A low slope roof or a flat roof, there's no such thing as an absolutely flat roof anyways. All roofs, even when you get on commercial roofs, they're not flat. They have some pitch to roll the water away. So they're not specifically just flat. And on a commercial level, they may build them flat. You'll see on some of them, they actually build it frame-wise. It's built level. But then they have special foam boards that are thicker and thinner, and they're called tapered boards. And then when they put them down on the level area, it kind of slopes the water. And it'll move them to a drain, or it'll move it to what's called a scupper. And a scupper is generally on the edge of a roof, looks like a cup like this, and it just collects the water. But my point is that every single commercial roof you see, any flat roof anywhere, you're going to see them up on curbs. It's the way it functions. So the RV industry, again, they just spin this narrative, you don't need it, it's not an RV roof, but everybody's having trouble with them. So other shops, other systems, those spray-on roofs, those roll-on roofs, they're not solving the problem of the air conditioner for sure. They're not solving any of that, and that's a big crucial issue. But you know, they're not designed to. They're just basically mocking what the RV industry did. So most of the roofs we tear up, the actual membrane right here, it doesn't fail. Most of the time, like 99%, now you say that, like 99, probably 0.9%. It's usually the protrusions. It's usually the protrusions, the plumbing, or even around those bolts or something like that that they fasten to, screw to, whatever, that has failed because they want you to just use the self-leveling. So that's just not something that's going to work. If that was the case, again, going back to a commercial end, if that worked, if that system worked, a lot of these big, huge shopping plazas along with these big factories and plants, they would save a ton of money from not only building the curbs for that, but also installing them. So they would save a significant amount of money. There's a reason why they do it, because it doesn't work, it doesn't last. That's why you see a lot of folks with roof issues. So that's why we're not a proponent of a spray-on, we're not a proponent of a roll-on roof, because it's not solving the problem. Now, I'm going to back that up, because it would give you the old caveat, if I will. The commercial roofs, they do have a recovery system for it, but now you already have your curbs in place. If you've already got curbs, then the system would work. If you don't have curbs, it's just not going to function well. So that's why we do the way I do these roofs, is because this is what works. If the spray-on, if the roll-on, if those other systems, if they worked, I would just buy into the franchise. So when we did commercial roofs, I did have a recovery machine, and we would do huge buildings, you know, much like you see on here, on our building. We could recover those roofs, no problem. But those are a different type of roof system, right? They already have curbs and so forth. So I'm not saying the product in itself is bad, I'm saying the application is bad. So, and I just hate to see people spend money and then they have to go back and spend more money to fix it. As you see on all these videos we do, we take the time to address certain things that come up. I want to fix them. I want to make sure they're right. I don't want a customer rolling out of here and then down the road there's another issue that could have already been addressed when the roof was open. And a lot of shops, they just need to get them in, get them out. They're all about numbers. Now, as much as we like to get these coaches out, they go out when they're ready to go out. That's just it. So sometimes we run into hiccups. Sometimes we run into other things that we weren't expecting, and it throws our calendar off. And that's just the way it is. I can't tell a customer, well, I'm not going to do a quality job for you because I got these other ones I got to run out of here. And I'm not going to just kind of slap it together to kick it out so I can get another one in here. We do each coach individually. When it's done, then it goes. And we address the problems the way they should be addressed. So all that said, the roof system here, this is a 60 mil commercial grade TPO. That's what it is. It's a reinforced membrane, and it's what's called a reinforced or a structured membrane. And a structured membrane, what that is, it has a weave in it. It's got like a mesh. And that mesh gives it strength against hail, tree branches, things like that. So here's a piece here. These are the three colors we have. You can see tan here, white, and gray. And there's all our information. But you can see the squares up underneath there. This has them as well. They're just a little more faint, you know, when I welded all this together. But everything's all heat welded, so it can't come apart. It's done. All of these that you see, these boots, the curbs, everything, we make in-house. So I custom fit everything what it needs to be done. So like this little one here, I custom made it for that, for this little Wi-Fi antenna, which by the way was over there on the other side by the ladder. You had it hooked on the ladder, and it comes out over here somewhere. So when we tore the roof off, we routed it through here. So the other thing we did, and I didn't get to show that, but from here all the way down there is a piece of PVC pipe. In the event he has to replace this, he can fish a new wire right through that PVC pipe. So, you know, all he has to do is pop that loose, and then again, you'll see the wires just go right through. The pipe ends right there. You can see the pipe. And then when you go back into the, I guess there's a cabinet back there. When you go there and look up in that hole that he had already made, you'll see the end of the PVC pipe. So we did that just because, again, I thought maybe something may have burped, and if it does burp, how do you fix it? You're going to have to fish a wire, and you're not going to be able to fish a wire through all that insulation and get it right, you know, without probably doing damage to the wire you're trying to pull. So that's why we design everything the way we do. And even this is basically a counter flash. That's what it is. So now when the water comes up, and all the curbs have them, all of them, every one of them have a counter flash on them. And now when the water is coming down, it's going to try to ride up, but it's going to get redirected around. That's the whole idea. You want to redirect water away from penetrations. That's what curbs do. So we've got the vent here, same thing, same curb. You can see we got a nice bed of caulking underneath there. We don't just put butyl under there and squash it down. We don't do that. So what we do is load it, we set it, wait for it to cure, and then we come back, put some screws in it, and then we put another lick of caulking around it. But all this is all heat welded. This is a counter flash I was telling you about right here. So again, comes up, it's going to wash away. Same with the air conditioners. Now on some of the other ones we've done, we've had a piece of counter flash come down over the front. If you watch some other ones, these ones have just little ones on here because it's got this flange on the front already. So all we did is just use, that's basically acting as our counter flash. And what it does is when the water comes down from obviously from the rain, when it comes down, it's not going to trickle back into that gasket. We're trying to keep water away from that gasket. So that little piece in the front there, what that little piece does is it pushes it down below here. So it's down here, and it'll wash away, so it can't get up inside there. That's the whole idea to it. So we've got the plumbing. This is your plumbing, and then this is a vent on here. I got another solar fan over here. But now if this cap pops off, there's no issue. There's no issue at all. It'll meaning like a leak, like some of the other ones that you see on the RVs that just have the plastic caps. This will just leak into a holding tank. That's it. So this it unscrews right here, and there's a filter up inside there. So this can't come off. I mean, if a tree branch hits it, it's going to have to tear it off. But there is a trough that runs through here, and what that trough does is it creates an air. So now we're getting into like the springtime. Should I bring this back? There we go. So you're coming into the fall, rather. I said springtime. But even in the springtime, the cooler days, right? Cooler nights. You may have some dew and frost on top of this, but it's not just on top of here, it's on the inside of this lens. So now when the sun comes up, it'll evaporate off of here, but what's up underneath in the inside, it can't evaporate that. So what it does, it makes it basically, it's condensation. So it just starts drooling down, and then it would get either into a curb, in this case, or on most cases, it gets into the roof deck. And a lot of people think, hey, I've got a skylight leak, I can't figure it out, I can't find it, I've slobbered it 100 times, it's still leaking, it's still leaking. It's a condensation leak. So you have your inner lens, and then you have the other lens. So you have two lenses, and you have a gap in there. So this is running down, and it's getting into the roof deck, and what it's doing is rotting all this out. Now the screws can't stay, and that's how you're getting your leaks on your typical RV roof. So you can see again how much caulking we have. We just bed it all in there. These are all solely glued down. We do not use any screws. I find that putting screws in there, you'll start getting little hair cracks and fractures here. These expand and contract quite a bit, and when they do, they're either pushing or they're pulling. So now you're out in the sun, and it's, you know, a nice hot day, and this thing's kind of swelling up, and then you got a thunder shower. Well, now it's going to contract, and it'll pull on these screws, and that's why oftentimes you'll see these little fractures coming out from the screws. So we don't put screws down. These are solely glued down. So that's the solar fan I was talking about. So there is a little ductwork that goes inside this cavity right here, and then there's another one over here. So when the sun comes up to evaporate this, that solar fan is kicking on, and when the solar fan's kicking on, it's drawing air from here, and it goes up over the other lens, comes down, and exits out. That's the whole idea to it. So it'll keep it dry, and it'll stay on as long as, you know, obviously as long as the sun's up, right? So now, how long those last, I don't know. They're just, honestly, they're just cheap Chinese solar fans. So, you know, it would be good to check them every now and again. So on the caulking right here, I already showed you the insert trim, and I showed you all the screws that we seal up, but we also put 2 layers of caulking on here, 2 layers. So we glue these on. When we glue the gutters on, then we strike that down. When we strike it down, then we put another layer on it. After it cures, we put another layer on it. And then once that cures, we put yet another layer. And I do that on purpose because if you've ever operated a caulking gun, then you'll hear it pop and crackle. And when it pops and crackles, that means you just injected an air bubble. So now you've got an air bubble in there, and these do flex and move quite a bit. That's a possible leak if it breaches. So what are the chances of having one air bubble land on top of another? So that's why I do 2 strikes on there. So let's see, what else did I do over here? I think that's about it. So the maintenance on this is real simple. The maintenance is just soap and water. You can pressure wash these roofs. A lot of roofs you cannot pressure wash. These you can. You can bring it right to a truck wash. Say, get up there, pressure wash that roof. Don't worry about it. And I mean that literally. Unless that guy's got a pencil tip and kind of driving it down into it, most of them get the fan tip. They know how to do that. They just, you know, obviously take a bristle brush. You can scrub these down too. It's not like you just have to nice and easy with a soft sponge. No, you can get up here with a pressure washer and a scrub brush and clean these up, and they'll pop right back. So the warranty on this is a 20-year roof system. So I'm going to go back to this spray-on, roll-on type thing that are claiming lifetime. I'm just telling you, there's no such thing as a lifetime roof. I've been doing commercial roofs for 30 years, and then I've been doing these for 10. So I got 40 years all collaborated into this. So I'm not an RV guy per se. I'm a general contractor by trade, a commercial general contractor. All that said, I've never, ever seen a lifetime roof. So these companies that say, hey, it's lifetime, no, they're just tickling your ears. Read the warranty. There's no lifetime. So one of them in particular, they say, hey, it's a lifetime roof. Then when you read the warranty, it says it should last 20 years. So this, getting back to this system, this TPO, is rated 20 years sitting on a commercial building out in the elements 24/7. Coaches don't usually see that. Generally, they're undercover. Generally, they're in the shade. So you're going to get much more life out of this, probably 25-ish, maybe even 30 years out of this, right? All that said, down there, we'll say 30 years from now, you go, wow, the roof's looking kind of weathered. We need to do some recovery for it. They do make, and the recovery will work just fine because it has the curves. So going by their analogy, I guess this is a lifetime roof, but I just don't like to mislead anybody like that. The company said it's a 20-year system. The company who made it knows that if you put a recovery on it, that'll stave it and that'll give it more life. But the company that manufactured this, which is Carlisle, they don't come out and say, hey, that's a 20-year membrane. That's a lifetime membrane. They don't say that. They say it's a 20-year membrane. So when we took off the old roof on here, that was just a cheap, I don't know, maybe 10, 12-year membrane. It was real thin, real cheap. So not only did we upgrade to a commercial roofs start off at 45 mil. That's the thickness, 45 mils. So what's on your RV and your campers as a rule is usually about 25-ish, okay? So they do have a little tolerance when they do this. So it's maybe 28, but 25, 28. So the commercial roof, like I said, it starts off at 45, so yet we upgrade yet one more time to 60 mil. So, and that's a lot thicker, obviously. So these can handle a lot of punctures in the sense like the hail, tree branches. It's going to take a lot to damage this roof. And we'll say you do get a hefty tree branch, and boy, it puts a knuckle in that thing and rips the roof. Well, we leave a care package with everybody, so all they have to do is just patch it real quick and then come back to us, and we'll put a hot patch on it. That's it, and the hot patch is fine. It'll be absolutely fine. So on your conventional roofs, you can't do that. You're forced to use like a roof tape, and a roof tape is not a long-term fix on any roof. You know, you can get away with putting obviously a roof patch on this, but I use that as an emergency type of situation, not a long-term fix. So like I said, you can heat weld to these. You can't heat weld to, even if your roof has TPO, you cannot heat weld to that. It is so thin, you'll just melt it before it even gets to bond to anything. So, and that's what these are all designed for. So the commercial roof industry, obviously they know something. They've been doing this. You know, Carlisle's been in business for about 100 years. TPO has been around for, oh, gee whiz, I guess maybe, what, 50 years? You know, so they've got some longevity behind them to prove that they work and they function. So, other than that, we appreciate, oh, that's what I was saying about, now that was the warranty. I didn't want to get off track here. The warranty, there's a 20-year material warranty. So folks can come back and hear, I ideally like to see them come back and I want to inspect them. That's free. Bring it back. I want to make sure I'm doing what you paid us to do. I want to make sure I'm not letting you down, that we're addressing it. You say, hey, I need a roof that's going to last. Are you going to do that? Sure. Boom. Here we go. So all that said, I'd like to see them come back. But if somebody really wants to do this themselves, they can go around and check all this caulking. They can go around and check all that. It still doesn't affect all your warranties are for membrane. That's what all your warranties are for these, this product, not the protrusions and so forth. But again, these are all heat welded. And I don't want anybody to ever think that we just want to take their money, see you later, bye, and get another one in here. We're not that kind of shop. So all that said though, you know, again, we like to see them come back. But, you know, I don't want anybody to get upset because they don't know how to inspect it properly. And if they have a failure, we're willing to fix it, of course. But, you know, if, you know, something like maybe caulking, you know, over the years, maybe it needs to be addressed. I've never, ever, ever, and I mean this, ever, had to replace this caulking, ever. Not on one coach, ever. This is commercial grade. It stays. It's done. But all that said, I still like to see them come back. That's just the way I am. You know, again, I don't want anybody to ever think that the only time I need to see them come back is because I need to get it in their wallet. So, other than that, so we do have the air conditioning running. You can see right here. I wanted to get them going. So, we got that going there. And so, on the side here, I don't know if you noticed this, there are a couple little wrinkles. I'm just going to point it out right here. You can vaguely see them right there, right? So what that is the way this membrane is so thick, it's so thick that it's hard to get the transition. I'm going to go down here and show you what I'm talking about. This particular roof, if you look at the, see if I get you right, if you look at the roof line, it goes up and then it kind of flattens out. So it's got this slope coming down. So the membrane, being a reinforced membrane, it's basically two-dimensional. So I've got a little bit of camber on this roof, and then I've got this going on. And it doesn't like to do all that. This is a two-dimensional product. So we distress it out the best we can, but that's not an issue, never going to be an issue. But that's, I just want to bring it out so if someone says, hey, you know, I noticed some wrinkles on there. It's just because of the thickness of the material. But you can probably see the roof line a little better this way, how it goes up and then it straightens out. So sometimes we have to do a tuck and fold. This was so shallow, we couldn't put it on there. So these boots that we got right here, these get all filled up with basically it's a special sealer that we put in there, and it stays rubbery all the time. It's like a rubber eraser in a sense. It's not rubber, but it'll always stay flexible. So when these things move around, as you're kind of climbing up the ladder, you don't have to worry about the base where you put self-leveling from failing and water getting in there. So, that's about it. Well, we appreciate y'all watching, and you know, from what I understand, if you like the video, hit the thumbs up. I guess it helps other people find it. I'm not a YouTuber. We don't monetize, so skip the ads. Just skip them. There's a YouTube thing. We don't put these up here for money. We put these up here so the customer can see all the work we did, and maybe some other folks that are watching can see the type of work we do. But it's not like we're trying to be these great YouTubers, and that's why it's real simple videos. We don't have, obviously, a jazzy intro. We don't edit, so everything you see is all the clips. And then when you load them into the computer, all those little clips come up, and you just go in and you put a transition to make it flip to the next one, fold to the next one, or spin to the next scene. That's all we do. And then we just put our card on it. So we wouldn't have the time to do all this fancy jazzy editing, and we obviously don't even have the software to do it either. So, you know, our scope is just do roofs and rebuilds, not being YouTubers. This isn't, YouTube isn't something I think I'm going to retire off of, that's for sure. So, but like I said, if you do like it, if you hit the thumbs up, I guess it helps other people find it. Again, this is all what I hear from other YouTube things. I don't know. But other than that, we appreciate you watching, and look for us on the next one.
So in our care package, we have caulking, we got primer, we have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch peel and stick patch. We got a checker tool. We've got a magnet. And the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, it will simulate a hole. You can do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through, and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof, it's leaking. That's what you want to do. And it's raining out. Right now it's raining. You're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak. You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you try and do, you need to get up underneath the roofing, like this. This is what we need to do, get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. Just squeeze, squeeze. You want to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Put some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're going to go up there, and that's going to be cured looking like that. So we're going to take a knife, and you just shave it down. Just shave it down with a knife. I'm just going to obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. So what we're going to do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. You got another one. You got one on you? Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. Hey, what are you doing? What are you going to talk about, man? Nope, just leave it alone. Oh, leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where, and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. You're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. You're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, because there's your marks. And you peel that film back. Get the fingers, fat fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape. That's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggone thing off of there. Probably need some fingernails. Probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. There it is. Now you got the film. You take that film. So now we're going to line it back up like this. We already got the primer under there. You just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. Just kind of try to keep it as even as you can and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, then you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That's simple. If it doesn't all sit in there, you can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of, there's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we got that all done, what the whole purpose of it is this part here, this part underneath here, that's a butyl. When the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this because nothing will stick to it. Nothing, the caulking will not stick to this patch and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.